Welcome back to Face the State on this Sunday morning. He didn't make the ballot at the Republican convention, but Republican Bob Stefanowski says he has another route to qualify for the primary, and Mr. Stefanowski is here with us today. Good morning to you.
Thanks for having me back.
So you're doing the signature route, and
correct.
Update us on that, because that can often be a slog, a tough slog.
Yeah. So the campaign in general is going great. I don't know if you saw the poll that was done last week. We came out with a 4-1 margin leading in this Republican field.
We should point out that was your poll, right?
It was John McLaughlin. We commissioned it. Okay. He's a national pollster. He's done presidential elections. I wanted a true read, Dennis, on where we are in this election right now, and I'm very, very happy with the results. That's helped a lot with the petition process. This process for petitions was really set up by political insiders. I don't think the intent is for you to get on the ballot, but when I go to doors, people know who I am. They know who our people are. They like my economic plan, and we are well on our way to getting onto the primary ballot.
You have been really the first candidate to be advertising on a regular basis.
Sure. You're
on weekly, on media and TV and print media and so forth. How much money have you spent so far, and what do you plan on spending to be elected?
Well, we've had a 6-figure buy, and I thought it was important to get out there. Most of the other candidates, as you know, they're taking public financing to finance their campaigns. They're going to take $1.2 million of taxpayer money, $10,000 a day, to run their campaign. I've been out crisscrossing the state raising money, and I've used that to get my message out. It's been very, very powerful. That's why we're seeing the poll results that we are. How
much do you think it would cost to win a primary?
Well, the public candidate gets 1.2, so it's going to take at least that. I think it's the ultimate in hypocrisy that some of these candidates are going to go around telling you how bankrupt the state is, and taking taxpayer money to do it. But unfortunately, the state's going to give everybody $1.2 million, so it's going to take at least that much money.
There are some Republicans who said to me, you know what, I'm a little concerned that Mr. Stefanowski was a Democrat for a short time. And,
yeah.
And you did register as a Democrat.
Yeah.
What about Republicans turned you off so much that you decided to become a Democrat?
I've been a Republican for 30 years. There's a lot of people, including Ronald Reagan and Larry Kudlow, that have been Democrats for a short time. I was one.
But this was recent.
Yeah, I was one for about 9 months. But look at my economic plan. It's endorsed by Arthur Laffer, Ronald Reagan's chief economist. It's going to lower taxes. It's going to reduce regulation. People are looking forward, Dennis. They're looking at who can come in to this state and fix what's broken. I've been doing it 30 years in the private sector. I can do it for the state of Connecticut.
But back to that original question, at one moment you said, I'm going to be a Democrat. What was the primary factor that made you decide that?
Listen, I made a mistake. I looked at the other side, and I looked at the chances of getting my tax policy implemented on the Democratic side of this ticket. They are all about tax and spend. Dan Malloy's been doing it for 8 years. Ned Lamont is going to continue that policy. We need fundamental conservative fiscal discipline. That's what I've had. That's what I did at CFO of UBS. That's what I did at GE for 15 years. And that's what we're going to do for the state of Connecticut.
Your ads have said that you want to cut the income tax.
Yes.
When and by how much?
We have to get rid of it eventually.
Altogether?
I've got it over 8 years. I don't know whether it takes 8 years or 10 years. But part of leadership and part of the reason I've been successful is starting to reverse the damage that other people have done. This economy has been taxed and spent like crazy by Dan Malloy. We need somebody from the private sector who's come in, who knows how to have the tough decisions, who's not worried about the next political election, and is going to do the right thing to give people hope that we can turn this state around.
Your plan, as I understand it, also calls for eliminating the income tax over time, but raising the sales tax, is that correct?
No, not raising the sales tax.
Well, where does the money come from?
We can create growth, Dennis. If we can lower the corporate tax, get rid of the estate tax, which is a crazy tax. It raises less than 1% of the revenue of this state, and we're driving people down to Florida by the day. It's been proven in Tennessee. It's been proven in Florida. By reducing taxes, companies come back in, people come back in, and it increases the tax revenues that we can use to fund the infrastructure and fix this economy before it's too late.
Let's talk a little bit about the Republican field that's out there right now. What makes you a better candidate than, let's say, a Mark Boughton, a Tim Herbst?
I am the only person in this race on either side that has run an organization anywhere near as big as the state of Connecticut. Connecticut's a $40 billion annual budget. When I was CFO of UBS Investment Bank, I had a $500 billion balance sheet across 35 countries. I turned around businesses at GE that were multi-billion-dollar businesses. This is too important election, too important a time to let somebody have on-the-job training. Typical town, $100 million budget. Typical hedge fund, 30 to 45 people. I've run thousands of people, billion-dollar budgets. That's what we need in Hartford right now.
I want to talk about three of the issues that are viewers and our voters certainly are talking about, and that is, number one, tolls. Do you support tolls, or are you against them completely?
I'm against it. And this is the problem with Ned Lamont. He was on radio this morning. He said, I'm going to raise taxes and I'm going to reinstitute tolls. One of the Democrats going to realize that the economic policies that we've had are failed. We need to turn it around. Tolls is just another tax on the hardworking people of Connecticut. I am firmly against it.
What about legalizing marijuana?
I'm against it. You know, it's not top on my list. Part of leadership is focusing on the things that can drive the needle. The results are still out in Colorado. We got enough things to worry about getting this economic machine going, getting taxes reduced, reducing regulation. That's what's going to move the needle here.
What about casino gambling? We've got a big company like MGM that wants to come in and spend a lot of money building a casino in Bridgeport, and who knows if it was an open market, maybe other companies would be interested as well.
Sure.
The tribes, as you know, have a monopoly.
Yep.
What's your view on this subject?
Well, Malloy's done such a horrible job with this economy. We have to consider anything that brings jobs back. Would casinos be my first choice? No, but we need to look at it. We need jobs. We need economic growth. We need revenue. So I think it's something we need to look at. We need to be careful with the tribes that they don't lose too many jobs up in the eastern part of the state. But we are not in the position right now with what Malloy has done to this state to be overly selective about what we use to bring jobs back here.
Senator Chris Murphy, John Larson, others have said that regionalism needs to be a part of our future, that this old colonial model of 169 citizen towns just no longer works. As governor, what would you do to try to reduce the municipal expenses, and there are a lot of them in the state, that the state picks up for, to try to make the budget a little bit more palatable?
Well, you know, part of the beauty of Connecticut is its diversity, and I've been around to the RTCs all across the state. There are some terrific people out there. We need to preserve the identities of the towns. And in most cases that I've seen, the towns are infinitely better at balancing their budget than the state has been. There are some things we can do around shared services, you know, fire departments, things like that. We need to see where there's economies of scale, just like I did as CFO of UBS Investment Bank, to try to make it more efficient, but without losing the distinctiveness of our state.
Bob Stefanowski, Republican candidate for governor. Best of luck, and perhaps we'll see you again.
Thanks for having me, Dennis.
When we come back, the face of HPD is retiring. We'll talk with him. And I welcome your comments. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook right now.